I'm Mr. Ethan Bartlett.
How did you come into contact about the musical?
I heard the prologue to Ballad Lines on TikTok, and I thought it was really cool. But it kept on popping up on my For You page, and so I finally commented, and I said, hey, I would love to sing this with my choir. I'm in rural West Virginia. This really speaks to us because a lot of us are descendants of Scots-Irish people. And so the composer, Finn Anderson, actually commented, and he said, shoot me a message because the music isn't available for purchase. So it's not available to just do. So I commented and kind of went from there. I've had a couple phone calls with them and just getting that together with that team.
Can you explain the musical and what it is about?
The musical is about passing down songs through generations of women, and oral traditions existed well before written history, and they still exist within folk traditions, especially amongst immigrant populations. A lot of songs, a lot of recipes that your ancestors just passed down to you that they don't necessarily write. So it's about that. It's about women who have the same struggles across centuries, who share the same last name, who were born in different places, who are struggling with the same things, and deal with it through song. And sometimes those songs are created out of that struggle, out of telling those stories to their children. And so it's just about these women. One of the women is still in Scotland. That's the ancestor, so she's still in Scotland dealing with the same issue as the woman in modern day West Virginia, dealing with those same things.
Where is the musical?
The musical right now is, it just premiered off the West End in London. The West End is their version of Broadway over in the UK. So a lot of times smaller musicals will get tested in a theater. We call it off-Broadway in America, but it's essentially off-Broadway before it goes into a Broadway theater or a West End theater. And this is kind of like their premiere week. They just came out. So it's in the UK right now.
What song are you learning?
We're doing the first introductory piece of it. It's called Prologue. Kind of like the prologue of any book, any story. This kind of gives us a taste of what's going to come in the musical. A lot of times in musicals we have an overture, which just has a lot of the musical elements quoted in it from throughout the musical. And this is kind of just setting up that story, talking about how the ancestors came through Scotland into Ireland, and then over here into the Appalachian Mountains. And it's a narrated story as well. So we have a character that's narrating it, talking about Appalachia, talking about her Scots-Irish heritage, and then we sing as the ancestors.
How do you feel about the musical?
I think it's a really cool idea. You don't really have a lot of musicals that are about Scots-Irish immigration. That whole history is rife with troubles and politics and just different things that created a very unique culture. And when they came over here, they brought it with them. So seeing a musical about that and how a lot of my students can connect with that, I myself can connect with that history, because a lot of us are Scots-Irish. And that was one of the things I told the composer, was a lot of the people in this area are still descendants from those original Scots-Irish immigrants. A lot of West Virginia pioneers were, so it's really kind of neat.
What would you say to anyone wanting to reach out, not just about a choir piece, but just something they're interested in?
I say just do it. I always tell my kids it never hurts to reach out. The worst thing that can happen is they ignore it. I've always thought this with music. I've reached out to composers multiple different times. Sometimes you don't get a reply, sometimes you do. Sometimes you get the reply you want, sometimes it's a no-go. In this case, I simply commented on a post, and we're the first group in America that gets to do it, gets to do anything from the musical. And they're going to get a recording of us doing it and show it on their social media and kind of show them over there in the UK, and then us in Appalachia doing it, just like the musical. You have the people who are still back home the people are over here today. So I think that's, I don't know, just reach out.
Is there anything else you would like to say?
Music is really powerful. The one thing with this, it shows you how long oral traditions can last and how music changes over time. It's one of the very few things that are considered like a cultural artifact that don't need an actual physical artifact to exist. Songs can be recorded much later. In fact, the Smithsonian, through Folkways, they have a lot of songs that were collected later than when they were created just by recording them and getting those oral traditions written down or recorded into an audio medium. But because of that, we do lose a lot of music too from people not being able to record it, whether written or recording it like through a microphone. But it's a very powerful thing. It's one of the earliest forms of art. It was here well before anything else we do, really. It was here before math, it was here before a written language. Music has always existed. And it's nice to see when people view it as important, because a lot of times anymore, the arts are kind of pushed away. So it's nice to have people still writing good music and still trying to pass that on.
My name is Charlie Barnett.
How do you feel about the musical?
I think it's a great thing that someone is making a story about the history of Appalachia and the area around and in West Virginia. It's a great thing to show the history of our people, of our ancestors, the immigrants who came here and fought hard to get here.
What is the significance of an Appalachian choir singing the song you're learning?
I think it's significant because we are the descendants, most of us are the descendants of those immigrants, and so it's like we're carrying on their story. We are carrying it through in like letting people know, like, hey, this is the history of the Appalachians, and it's not going to disappear. So we're just going to keep on telling the story.